Well, it's Thanksgiving, and I've been thinking a lot about family. I didn't get to see my family this Thanksgiving, but talked to them on the phone a little bit, and we got chatting, and I started to reminisce about old times. I have two older brothers, and we would get in these battle of knowledge, and so every once in a while, my brother would come out and say something like, "Well, did you know that Lake Superior was the biggest lake in the world?" Well, what do you mean by that, Brian? He said, well, it's got like the most fresh water of any body of water in the world. And I said, well, do you think that that's about like the most fresh water? Or because I heard that it's got the most surface area, but that there's another lake that has more water in it. And he said, nuh-uh. And I said, yeah, Of course, we went back and forth a little bit. Eventually, my dad came home, and we ran over like, Dad, you got to settle this for us. Lake Superior, does it have the most water, or does it have the most like surface areas? What we're trying to get at, but I don't think we need the term yet. And I said, well, I think it's just the biggest, like the flattest. But I heard that there's a bigger lake, like more water. And he said, well, okay, this time actually, Jason's right. And I'll try and recreate my reaction to this moment here for you today. It went something a bit like this. Ha! You were wrong! You're wrong! You're wrong! You're facing! Ha! Ha! Yes! Something a little bit like that. See, when you're the winner, you're not always the winner. Because my dad kind of pulled me aside at this point and was like, Jason, so, you don't have to rub it in quite like that. Maybe instead of, like yelling in your brother's face, you could say, well, how about this? Who taught you about Lake Superior? I said, well, I guess it was my geography teacher. Well, maybe instead of, yelling at your brother, you could be thankful for that teacher that taught you about Lake Superior. Oh, okay, fine. And then, once my dad was having an earshot, I'd chat my brother. You're wrong. I had a lot of growing to do. But clearly I was celebrating the wrong thing here. We don't always end up celebrating the right things in life. Well, I don't know if you've heard, if you've kind of been aware of what's going on in the news, but just this week, it was the day before Thanksgiving, on Wednesday, there was a bus bombing in Tel Aviv. Hamas group didn't outrightly take credit for this bus bombing, but supporters of Hamas were seen that very day handing out candy to children in the area to celebrate this bombing. To draw a distinction here, they were not just celebrating the wrong thing, they were celebrating wrongly. It's just not okay to celebrate the deaths of innocent women and children and innocent people like this. I think somebody has taken credit for it now. But those celebrations happen. Well, on May 1st, 2011, many Americans took to the streets in celebration. I don't know if you remember this day, but it was the day where Osama bin Laden was killed. Were we wrong in celebrating? This is where things get a bit more complicated. Americans were not celebrating the death of innocent people here, non-combatants, the way that the supporters of Hamas were in the wake of this bus bombing. Bin Laden felt anything but remorse for the death of thousands upon thousands of American lives. And there was even evidence in his hideout where they found him that he was even more involved in plots to attack innocent human lives in America. But did this celebration of the American people bring us somehow on the same level as the very terror that we fought against? A lot of commentators and bloggers out there suggested this, but I don't know. I don't think so. But For those of us who were watching on TV and seeing this celebratory display of American triumph in the streets over the death of Osama bin Laden, there was something really noteworthily eerie about that day. All mixed up with a collective national sigh of relief and sweet celebration of triumph of good over evil here. There was this bitter taste of the kind of joy that comes only in the elimination or destruction of one's enemies. Regardless of bin Laden's clear acts of evil, we were still celebrating death. And many Americans, many members of Grace Lutheran Church, were left reflecting on this unexpected national event with this uneasy kind of feeling that perhaps, maybe, we were celebrating the wrong thing. In our gospel text today, we find Jesus sending out 72 of his followers on a mission with authority to do work in his name. When they came back together, they were just pumped up. They were so excited about all that they had accomplished. The 72 returned with joy and said, "Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name." This is amazing. But Jesus replies to them, "Do not rejoice that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven." He doesn't say here that their rejoicing in and of itself is wrong, but he calls them to reconsider what it is they rejoice in. When Americans rejoiced in the streets that day after bin Laden's death, many reflected, even brought in biblical perspectives. Well, Proverbs 11 says, "When the wicked perish, there is a joyful song," right? But then again, the same book, a little later in Proverbs 27:14, it says, "When your enemy falls, do not rejoice. When he stumbles, let your heart not exult, lest the Lord hear or see and be displeased." It's complicated. At its core, even the Easter story is about the celebration of good over evil. Perhaps if the signs in the American streets said America is finally safe, maybe if those signs outnumbered the ones that read Osama bin Laden is finally dead, maybe that would have left a different taste in the collective mouths of the American public. I've been used to seeing different signs in the streets lately. Now, don't get me wrong. By no means am I suggesting that God sent us on this mission to bring bin Laden to justice. No, that was a mission of our own design. But where the connection is made here is that we did certainly spend more time and energy celebrating the downfall of our national demon than we did celebrating justice or lives saved. That day, it seems we fell into the same temptation of human nature that these followers of Jesus did. Jesus warned these 72 missionaries who returned, "Don't rejoice that the demons submit to you. Rejoice that God from the heavenly place has called you. Rejoice that the Lord has brought you here. Rejoice not in the work that you do in God's name, but the very name and presence of God who calls you, who claims you, who sends you, who owns you in that kingdom of heaven." Here at Grace, we're no strangers to the call of mission work. We send out missionaries all over the world, and even here locally, we send mission teams to Haiti and El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, and more. And when you talk with members of these mission teams when they return, you'll see a fire in them. You'll see that they'll tell you about the mission that they were on and how it set more profoundly on them, that it brought more change to them than anything they could have done or brought to the people to whom they were called. But as time goes on, as we return to our regular lives, our regular paces, it's so easy to lose that focus. It's so easy to focus on and start celebrating the wrong things. For example, Even from the most recent trip to Haiti, there's always a temptation. And I'm not saying that the members of this mission team fell into, I haven't heard this, but there's always this temptation to focus on things in the wrong way. We built 2 houses in Haiti, even in the midst of torrential rains, of practically being flooded out of the country. We built 2 houses. We accomplished so much, and not even the storm could get in the way of our mission. What they accomplished, really, was hearing God's call, accepting it, and being sent. It's so easy to forget that in simply hearing the call and being sent, and showing up, we participate in the very kingdom of God. Humility brings us to rejoice not in what we do, but who sent us. When we celebrate the doing, we get caught up in trying to recreate those mountaintop experiences. But when we celebrate in the who, God gets us joyfully caught up in the relationships we build in His name. Maybe you've never been on a mission trip or been part of a mission team. Maybe for whatever reason, maybe you never will. The temptation is to think, well, I'm not called to be a missionary. I don't have the skill, the experience. I don't have the energy for that kind of work. But God calls each and every one of you, each and every one of us, to His mission. Not all of us are called to be missionaries on foreign shores. But we're all called and equipped to be missionaries in our own lives. Mission work doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be centered in the one who sends us. Mission work is about celebrating and rejoicing in the right things. The Apostle Paul helps give us a bigger picture of what to rejoice in. Rejoice through baptism. Rejoice that through baptism God destined us to adoption to be His children. We're only human, though. We will surely falter. We will surely step into celebrating, get caught up in rejoicing in the wrong things. When we do, we can rest in the promise of redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses according to the riches of His grace, not our actions. So I'm here to remind you today that you are all called and sent on Christ's mission. So when you go, where you go, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice.